morning, Dolphins fans. Welcome to Dolphins Today. I'm Nick Roloff. We are going to take a look at an updated AFC NFL playoff picture, plus an injury update on Devon Achane in case you missed it last night. We have a lot to discuss after Miami won their fourth straight game to improve their record to 6-7. And this is where things stand in the AFC through Sunday's games. Obviously, still have the Eagles-Chargers Monday Night Football game, which we'll get to here in just a second on Monday night. But the Texans have officially entered the wild card picture with the Colts losing 3 straight games, falling out right now at 8-5. But you see the Miami Dolphins, as they've continued to creep up throughout the last 6 weeks, winning 5 of their last 6 games. It is unreal to me that we're sitting here after the Dolphins started the year 1-6, saying to you that the Dolphins have the same record as the Chiefs and the Ravens through Week 14. Hell, I'm not even going to say it's crazy to say this, telling you this back in Week 7 after Miami fell to 1-6. What if you told the Dolphins group of fans, as well as, honestly, the team, that going into the year, after 14 weeks of the season, you'd have the same record as the Ravens and Chiefs? The two teams that were favored the most in the AFC, by the way. I don't know if that's more stunning on the Dolphins' end or the Chiefs and Ravens' end that they're 6-7 at this portion of the season. But it's always going to be F the Jets, and happy victory Monday, Dolphins fans. Again, 4 straight weeks we've been able to celebrate with a victory day after kind of show. So hit that thumbs up icon if you're fired up about taking down the Jets and sweeping New York this year, by the way. So, let's talk about the updated playoff picture. Well, the current chances for Miami still sit at less than 1%. But we have been operating if the Dolphins win out to finish 10-7 and looking how the odds adjust from there. Well, we know coming into the week that Miami's chances to make the playoffs if they won out were about 13-14%. So as it currently sits, it has jumped up by 2% to 16%. Got a good result by the Jags beating the Colts and the Texans beating the Chiefs, but an unfortunate result in the Bengals blowing a 10-point fourth quarter lead against the Buffalo Bills. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we have a major swing on Monday Night Football between the Eagles and Chargers. It is a 5% swing. Miami, as we mentioned, currently sits at 16%. If they win this game, that is the Eagles, Miami's playoff chances jumps up to 23%. So it actually goes up 7%. If the Chargers in the AFC end up winning, Miami's playoff chances, if they win out, fall to 11%. So it's actually a 12% swing. I'm not very good at math, but you understand what I'm saying. This is a major game for the Dolphins, let alone the entire AFC playoff picture. If the Chargers lose, that is 3 teams at 8-5 in the Texans, Chargers, and Colts, which only puts Miami 2 games back of those 2 teams entering the final 4 games of the year. You need Philly to win tonight if you realistically want a chance. 11% if you win out, that's probably not going to get the job done. Now, a lot of people are going to ask, well, is Justin Herbert playing? Because he did get surgery on his hand just last week after he suffered an injury against the Raiders in Week 13. Well, he expects to play tonight, which honestly is crazy to me. He literally had surgery, I think, on like Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, one of those 3 days last week, on his non-throwing hand to repair that fractured hand, and he's expected to play tonight. Now, the Eagles have lost a couple straight games, have looked really bad, and you hope that this is a bounce-back opportunity for Philly in a game that they need to win to really create separation between themselves and the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East playoff picture in the standings. So this is a game that Philly needs to win with a couple tough games for them down the stretch of the season. So hopefully they go out and dominate. But to summarize everything here, no matter the result of tonight, if Miami wants to miraculously keep their playoff hopes alive and potentially sneak into the dance, you're going to need to win every single game. No surprise there. But we will be rooting against the Colts, Chargers, Texans, and Bills every single game. And if they happen to play each other, because the Colts and Texans do match up one more time, We will tell you which result helps Miami. But to keep it interesting and simple for you guys, those 4 teams lose, lose, lose. All right, never tell me the odds, yet I'm going to ask you to tell me anyway, in your opinion. The Dolphins have a blank percent chance to make the playoffs. Currently sits at 16% if they win out, 23% if the Eagles win, 11% if the Chargers win tonight. Let me know your percent chance for Miami. We're going to take a switch over to the injury news for Miami, no longer looking at the playoff picture. If you did not watch our video last night that we put out right around Sunday Night Football being kicked off, Devon Achane, positive injury news. No rib break, obviously left this game against New York in the first half with a rib injury, never returned, but Mike McDaniel did say he was available to return if an emergency arised and they needed Achane to get back on the football field. And that does kind of get confirmed by when you look at Achane on the sidelines in the second half. He did still have his pads on, he had his helmet on, and he was wearing a coat. So he could have went back in. And that's big for Miami that there's no major injury. I'm sure McDaniel will have a little bit of a larger update on Achane later today, so make sure you subscribe as we will be live later today talking more about the Fins. But the point is, Miami needs Devon. And hopefully he's not going to miss this game against the Steelers in Week 15 on Monday Night Football. Miami has an extra rest day, too, because of its Monday night game. They'll need him. They certainly need a top 5 running back in football to take down Pittsburgh. And I wanted to showcase this, too, as well. Like, through the games on Sunday, entering Monday Night Football, Devon Achane is 3rd in the league in rushing yards with 1,126, trailing James Cook by about 170, and Jonathan Taylor by about 230. But the part that is so fascinating to me is, in parentheses, is the carries. Bijan, Cook, Taylor, well over 200 carries this season. How about Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane all being over 1,000 yards, Achane over 1,100 yards specifically, by only having 193 and 187 carries respectively. That's special stuff from Devon Achane. If you look at the top 5 rushing leaders in the NFL, Achane clears them in yards per carry by a pretty wide margin. Achane averages 5.8 yards per carry. That is sensational stuff from Achane. And not even to mention his importance in the passing game this season for the Dolphins as well. Like, if Miami just committed to running the football more often in the first 5-6 weeks of the season, I don't think Miami would have started the year 1-4 or 1-5, and Miami might have a better chance to make the playoffs. Plus, you'd probably see Devon Achane leading the NFL in rushing yards. Hell, he might be in second or first place right now if they let him finish out the game against the Jets and he never got banged up, because he was on pace to run for like 250 yards himself. Miami ran for 239 yards as a team. Achane had 92 of them on 7 carries, and he didn't finish the first half, and he obviously didn't take a snap in the second half. Achane is certainly a special football player, and boy, am I glad he's on our team. More coming. But this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season. We're buying gifts. We're deciding what games to watch, what to eat. And with bowl games, basketball matchups, and playoff pushes all happening at once, there is one place where it feels good to be right. That is PrizePicks. New feature alert. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. You want flexibility? Go flex play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. I got a Monday Night Football PrizePicks lineup already going. More than A.J. Brown receiving yards and more than Kamani Vidal rushing yards for the Chargers. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. I want to use the back half of today's show to really hone in on the change in philosophy for Miami running the football, as well as the success they've had. I mentioned it off the top of today's show. Miami's on a 4-game win streak. In those 4 games, they have ran for over 150 yards in each of those games, including a 239-yard outburst, if you will. It's a good word. I wanted to say performance, but my brain just went absolute mush for a second. And 197 yards against the Buffalo Bills. And how about this stat as well, folks? I mentioned over 150 yards in 4 straight games. That is the first time the Miami Dolphins have done that since 1977. It has been damn near 50 years since Miami has ran for 150 yards in 4 consecutive games. This team has found its identity. This team can run the dang ball. And Miami needs to continue to commit to this. I've been saying this. We've all been saying this. You need to run the ball more. Now, you could use the argument they never had the offensive line or personnel to do that, and this is more or less referring to last year's team, not this year's team, or the year prior when they did run the ball pretty effectively in 2023. But with this current roster construction, sure, this offensive line has struggled at times pass protecting Jonas Savionai and Cole Strange, but when they have all 5 guys committed to the run game, they are moving people. They are dominating. I saw a clip this morning when I was rewatching the game that there was a play where they did a halfback sweep and shotgun to Jalen Wright. And guess what Miami's O-line did? They pulled 3 guys. But you would never guess who they pulled. They pulled the center, Aaron Brewer, the right tackle, Austin Jackson, and the left tackle, Patrick Paul. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Tua takes the snap and shotgun. Jackson goes bubble to the outside. Brewer starts booking it to the outside, and Paul comes across the formation. Now, Jalen Wright cuts back and picks up like 8 or 9 yards, but I just have never seen that. Mike McDaniel's run designs are so impressive, which is why I can't understand he gets cute and gets away from the run game. He did it a little bit in this game against the Jets in the second and third quarter, but then got back to it in the fourth quarter and put the game away. He went away from it a little bit against the Saints, and New Orleans creeped up back into the game. Like, if Mike McDaniel just commits to the run game and doesn't change anything, that is how Miami succeeds offensively. And that is how Tua has had some better numbers as well, because his straight dropback numbers aren't very positive. But when they commit to the run and then set up the play action off of that, well, now we're talking a different story. It's officially here. I think we can officially say that Miami's 6-7. We talked about this for a while and the possibility, but we're in the playoff push. Yeah, the odds are low, but we're right there at 6-7. Hit that sub button right now to be here every step of the way for the playoff push. Speaking of Tua, how about this stat as well? We're bringing up all the stats today. Sunday was the first time in Tua's career he has won a game that was below 46 degrees. How about that? And you knew something was going to give coming into this game. As a starter, Tua was 6-0 against the Jets, but 0-7 in games of under 46 degrees. So, you knew something had to give, and Miami was able to get the win. But this is how you win. You win in December with physicality. Why has Miami fizzled out over the last 3 years with Mike McDaniel as head coach in December, early January, and even late November? It's because when they play these physical football teams at the end of the year, they struggle to move the ball because their finesse run and pass game is not working in the bad conditions. But when you can move people, get downhill with power runs, and then blend that with the speed, zone, end-arounds, runs that Miami likes to have, well, that's how you dominate. And there's an opportunity to prove yourself once again. Now, we're going to talk more about this as the week goes on, but if you want to do a quick look ahead to Miami's next opponent, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that they have to travel to Pittsburgh to play on Monday Night Football, this is a team that has not been good against the run this year. They allow 125.3 rushing yards per game, 21st in the NFL. And if you look at their EPA per rush and run stuff percentage, both of them rank 27th in the NFL. Miami should have an opportunity to run the football effectively once again against Pittsburgh on Monday night, which should set their offense up for success. And with how this defense is improved on a week-to-week basis, and it's a different-looking defense from September to now, you have a big opportunity. Not only to continue to keep your playoff hopes alive because one loss ends you, because you have to go 10-7 to make the playoffs this year in the AFC. But how about Mike McDaniel, who, out of all of his career so far in Miami, the one thing that has always plagued him, the inability to win on the road in December, win in December period, but also beat opponents that are above 500. The Steelers are 7-6. This will be a above 500 opportunity for Coach Mike McDaniel. And it's a chance for the Dolphins to prove to the fan base that, okay, we're making a step in the right direction. This 4-game win streak isn't for nothing, because we've played bad teams in the Commanders, Saints, and Jets in 3 of the 4 games. But this game against Pittsburgh could prove that, all right, this team is actually playing better, can beat a quality opponent on the road in a cold weather environment. This is a type of game that if Mike McDaniel wins, could actually inspire confidence not only in me, but the rest of the fan base that, hey, maybe we should give Mike McDaniel a legit shot to prove he can be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins again for the future. He could be back in 2026 regardless, but it could be a decision made that we all are backing and like if McDaniel can win this game. Big opportunity. And we're going to have you ready for this game throughout the week, so hit that sub button. Also join us live later today as Coop and I will be live talking Dolphins football and breaking down all the action.